Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello friends, today we are going to start with the second chapter of our history syllabus, which is named as Political and Economic History, and how we are going to study what are the sources available to us about this political and economic history of the land, which we are going to study under the inscriptions, whatever it is collected by different archaeologists, different geographers, different historians, and according to that, these inscriptions, what they tell us about the story of the land. So in this chapter, we will have to study about that Rig Veda, which is the one of the oldest Veda of our country. We are having 4 different Vedas. What are they? Number 1 is Rig Veda. This is considered as the oldest one. Rig Veda is the oldest one. First one is Rig Veda. Then second is it is Samved. Samved. Then Yajurved. Yajurved. Then the last one is about the Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda. So these are the 4 Vedas of our country, and this chapter is basically based on that, what actually the Rig Vedic is, which has given some idea about the ancient Indian literature, about the condition of northwestern territories of our country. Rig Veda, it gives the idea about that, the ancient Indian culture, one of the oldest Veda of our country, and the Buddhist sources, because the chapter is only named as Inscriptions Tell a Story. How these inscriptions? So first, this matter from where these historians, archaeologists has collected, from the Rig Veda, about the ancient culture, ancient literature of our country. Then it comes the Buddhist sources, which tell us about that the 16 states which were named as Mahajanapadas in this chapter in our country. But only 2 states of the northwestern India, namely the Gandhara and the Kamboj, are mentioned in this list. If we are talking about that, the Buddhist text, if we are talking about this Rig Veda, then these name of the 2 cities are mentioned over there, that is Gandhar and Kamboj. There were also many small states in northwest in the 6th century BC, but we do not even know their names. For many centuries, this region remained aloof from the Gangetic plain, politically as well as culturally. In the east, this what we have talked about, that Gandhara and Kamboj in the northwestern part. Now coming to the northeastern part, Magad had risen to be a very powerful state during the rule of Bimbisara, and Ajatasattu and the 9 Nanda rulers. In 325 BC, Chandragupta Maurya, he overthrew the Nanda dynasty of Magad and laid the foundation of the Mauryan Empire in India. So this is the overview of this chapter, which we are coming to discuss inside this. So begin with this chapter with the inscriptions, how inscriptions tell a story about us. In this context, we have to study, focus on Rig Veda. Then we have the other than Rig Veda, other Vedas are also there, which is known as Samved, Yajurved, Atharved. So these are the 4 different names of the Indian Vedas, which they are very rich in the Indian literature, culture, and what we have the traditions. Many of them, they are mentioned in these Vedas. Coming to the next, this is all about that, the important cities. What we have to discuss in this chapter about Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas. This is the name. Actually, Brahmi or Kharosti, or might be Sanskrit, word is been used in these days. So accordingly, some of these are very important states like Surasena, which is present day it is known as Mathura. Then we have Matsya, we have Vats, then Kashi, new name of Kashi is Varanasi. Brajji is also there. New name is Vaishali, very famous. When we will have to study about the Buddhism and Buddha, there we have to study. Anga, this is there. Then Magad, Asmak. These are some of the, Chedi is also there. Avanti is there. These all are very important Mahajanapadas during the period. This period means this chapter is actually based between that the 100 years, 600 BCE to 600 CE. 600 BC to 600 CE. This is about approx. C means what? It is approx. This means approx. Not that the confirm, but approximately it is said that 600 BC, before Common Era. This is known as before Common Era. This is CE, means this is Common Era. This is Common Era. This is now coming to discuss inside this topic is early state and economies. The concept of the state first we have to discuss, and how they were maintaining their economic policy. What we are going to discuss inside this is about that during this time period, Mauryas to the Guptas. Starting with the Mauryan rulers, and the chapter will end with the Gupta rulers. So there were several changes in economic and political life between 600 BCE and the 600 CE. But the most important was the emergence of early states, empires and kingdoms. So these three things are very important in this chapter. One is about the importance of states, empires and the kingdoms. So there were other changes as well as like growth of agricultural production, emergence of new towns. So the historians, they try to understand these changes by using a variety of sources. Variety of sources like inscriptions, then texts which is available, and the coins which were used by the rulers. But it is not an easy task to understand. It's a complex process, and sources do not tell the entire story. It's a very complex process for the archaeologists or the historians. If suppose they are getting some of the inscriptions, written records from the temples, from the palaces, from the pillars, but then also it was not easy for them to understand by studying the coins which were used by the different rulers. They do not tell us the entire story about that, what actually happened during this 600 BCE to 600 CE. Already in the previous chapter we have discussed, in the Harappan civilization, abrupt end was there. The civilization was abandoned abruptly, without leaving any mark of that, how this civilization ended. Many assumptions were given by the different archaeologists like deforestation or rivers were over flooded, then this landscape was changed, river had changed their bed, or some of that the disease may occur. So there were no any facts. But after the 1900, sudden that the stop of the findings were also there. Nothing has been found. After this, the period of 1900 BCE. Then these archaeologists, they have started getting the findings from the 1500 BC. So what the development started again in the Indian history is marked with that the 1500 years, that is considered as the post-Harappan. This is considered as the post-Harappan age. After the Harappan civilization, a new trend developed. So there were several developments that took place in India during the long span of 1500 years following the end of Harappan civilization. After the end of the Harappan civilization, near about 300 years, there were no traces found, no facts available to the archaeologists. Then it comes about the Rig Veda, which was composed along the Indus and its tributaries. Indus River is there in the northwestern part of our country. Along with its tributary, it is said that Rig Veda was composed. It was written. Agricultural settlements emerged in many parts of the subcontinent. Rig Veda started in the northwestern part, along the Indus River and its tributaries. But the agricultural settlement which has emerged in many parts of the subcontinent, it was not been specified only in the western side, but might be throughout the country. Then emergence of new mode of disposal of dead, like megaliths. Now, this is a new term comes. It's a new terminology in central and south India. So what are the megaliths? It's a huge stone-like structure. Huge stone-like structure used to mark the burials. This is a new development which archaeologists actually found while they were going to dispose of their dead bodies. They have to put up one megalith over there so anyone can understand some bodies are remain inside. So this is a new thing which has been developed during this period. Then it comes about that emergence of new towns and kingdoms. 16 Mahajanapadas, just now we have discussed about that. We are coming to discuss again that the concept of the new towns and kingdoms. About the towns planning, about the urbanization, about the rural and the urban concept we already discussed in Harappan civilization. But here a new terminologies which has been started using by it, a new concept has developed in the society were the emergence of towns and kingdoms. Then it is about that the Princep and Piyadasi. What is the meaning of this Princep and what for this word Piyadasi has been used? These are not the simple English and Hindi or Sanskrit terms. Might be it is in Kharosti, might be it is in Prakrit or Pali language. These were the languages spoken by common people. In Harappan civilization, 375 to 400 signs and symbols were used, but still many of them are not deciphered. They were having the system of writing from right to left, but unable to, it is not actually readable, not getting that the complete idea. The archaeologists, they did not get the complete idea about that, what actually they wanted to explain or to express their ideas, their views. Now here coming to discuss about that James Princep. Who was James Princep? Who was he? Who was he? Officer in the Mint of East India Company. Mint where the currency notes are been made. This is known as the mint. He was an officer of East India Company. Then deciphered Brahmi and Kharosti scripts. These were the two different languages spoken by the common people. These are the language. This is also a language spoken by common people. Kharosthi and Brahmi were the common language spoken by the people, and James Prinsep, what he did, he has deciphered this language to understand the time period between this 600s BCE to 600 CE. In this script, he found mention of Piyadasi. Piyadasi is a word, what he found in this script, a king, the name meaning the pleasant to be old. This is the name and the description he found. And there is a perception that Piyadasi may have been used for King Ashoka. This is a terminology, what he found that he correlated actually. This is a terminology used for King Ashoka, the grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. King Ashoka, he was one of the greatest ruler of our country, and he was grandson of Chandragupta Maurya. This is some of the facts about that, the Kharosthi script, what James Prinsep found and he tried to decipher. Then it is Brahmi script. This is also means whatever the inscriptions he got, he tried to decipher and to read this. These are the Brahmi letters. He tried to translate it along with that with the help of the English alphabets. Prakrit language, ancient Prakrit language of our country, which were probably used by the people in the 600 BCE. Now coming to this, the 6th century BCE is often regarded as a major turning point. 600 BCE is a major turning point in early Indian history. This era is also known as or known for crucial developments. Crucial developments means what are the development took place in this period. Increased use of iron. In Harappan civilization, we read about that Bronze Age civilization. This is now the iron has been discovered. Development of coinage, no barter system. Currency. Coinage means that the currency were now introduced. Currency were now introduced. Emergence of early states and cities. The concept of the states, kings, kingdom, empire, which were also developed. Rise of new religions, namely Jainism and Buddhism. Basically this Jainism and Buddhism, these two religions also, this has been started in our country. These two religions were introduced in our country. So these are the changes which took place in Indian history. So this period is considered as the crucial developments took place between this 600 BCE to 600 CE. This is the importance of this time period. 600 BC, 16 Mahajanapadas were there. Which were they? Cambodia, Gandhar is there, which is Taxila, one of the most important universities of the world. Kuru, which is Indraprasth, now Panchal, all these the names. If you have idea about the Mahabharata, there all these names of the states are there. Anga Naresh, king of the Anga. Kuru. This is about that. The entire Mahabharata, the story is based on that. The Kuru Vansh, the Kuru lineage. The next chapter, very next chapter, we will have to discuss about this Mahabharata. Again, we have to study about all these, the name of the places. then Kosala, Surasena, Matsya, Avanti, Chedi, Vatsa, Kashi, Vraji. This is Malla, Magad, which is very important with this King Asoka. Anga was also there. Then Ashmak. So these are the important Mahajanapadas and their capitals. Kamboja, its capital was Rajpura. Gandhara, its capital was Taxila. That way, Kuru, its capital was Indraprasth. So everywhere, whatever the name of on the map it is given, it is along with the capital city. So the concept of a state was there along with the capital city of the state. 600 BC, again this 16 Mahajanapadas, Kamboja, Gandhara, Kuru, Panchal, Kosala, Malla, Vriji, Kasi. These all are the very important cities of this time period, were considered as the Mahajanapadas. Now coming to study about that, what were actually Mahajanapadas? Why they were known as Mahajanapadas? The 6th century BC. It is approx, it is C dot, this means that approx. This means approx. It is known for the rise of 16 Mahajanapadas. These states were either ruled by kings or ganas. Ganas means son. This means the son, group of the people. Each had its own capital, and these capitals were often fortified. Some states, they maintained permanent standing armies and recruited from the peasantry and regular bureaucracies to run the administration in a very controlled manner. And for the fortification of the cities and for the state, they were maintained that the standing army, permanent standing army were there. And from there, where these soldiers they are coming, they were from the peasantry. By profession, they were the peasants. And they have the regular bureaucrats to take care of the administration. Now also we have the bureaucracy. In those days also the concept of bureaucrats were there. Means that the different ministries were there, who they were supposed to take care of their different departments, different portfolios. Dharma Sutra laid down norms for kings and other people. This is a new concept developed in this 6th century BC. Who will be the ruler? How the king is supposed to rule or govern the state? Norms, rules were required. So these Dharma Sutras, these were developed, and entire norms, rules, regulations were written in this Dharma Sutras. And according to that, the king and the other people, they are governed. Functions of the rulers were to collect taxes and tribute from people. This is the most important function of the ruler. They have to collect the taxes from the people, and they also have to collect the tribute, which willingly the people they are supposed to give or offer to the king. This is all about that, the background history of this chapter. Now coming to discuss about that, the rise of Magad. Magad as a state, as one of the most important Mahajanapadas. Already we have discussed, means that the name of the 16 Mahajanapadas were given there. According to this Mahajanapadas, every Mahajanapadas, they were having their own capital cities. They have their own standing army for their fortification and for their security and the defense purposes. They were from the peasantry class, and bureaucracies were also there. Kings and the rules, how they have to rule and govern the state. Dharma Sutras were developed. and entire norms and the rules were written according to that king is supposed to rule over the state. Now coming to this, the rise of Magad, how this Magad has risen, how it came into the existence. Between the 6th and the 4th century BC. Now coming to this, the 6th and the 4th century BC, Magad became the most powerful Mahajanapadas. We have discussed 16 Mahajanapadas, but among them, this Magad has become one of the most important. The powerful and the ambitious rulers like Bimbisar. Bimbisar was a very ambitious ruler. Ajatasattu was also there. Spellings are different. If suppose we collect it from the original text, then it is Ajatasattu. Otherwise, it is Ajatasattu. And Mahapadma Nanda. This is the availability of iron. Enabled the Magadhas to make tools and weapons. This is the most important factor. This is the most important factor for the growth of the Magad. This is iron, which enable the Magadhans to make tools and weapons. Both the way. Tools also for the agriculture, for their technology, as well as the weapons were also been made, which were very durable. Long lasting tools and the weapons were now started made up of iron. Availability of elephants in forest, which constituted an important part of the army. In those days, horses were very less, or it is said that it was not available actually. So the elephants also in the forest of the Ganga Valley, these elephants were available in a large number. So this availability of elephant in the forest, that also constituted an important part of the army. Already this just now we have discussed about that they were having a permanent standing army, and this way they also use this elephant for the army purposes, for their defense purposes. Now coming to this, the fertility of the soil. This is the fertile soil provided agricultural productivity. Magad, where it is? It is the northeastern part of our country. Present day Bihar, part of West Bengal, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, eastern Uttar Pradesh. That the entire region was considered as the Magad. This is Ganga and its tributaries provided means of cheap and convenient communication. Not only that, the alluvium soil, fertile soil means what? The silt brought by the river Ganga and its tributaries, which makes the land very fertile. The fertility of soil, production of agricultural productivity was, rate of agricultural productivity was very high. Ganga and its tributaries provided means of cheap and convenient communication. Movement from one place to another was also very easy with the help of the river water. Location of Patliputra. Now coming to the geographical location. Location here means what? Geographical location. Geographical location of Patliputra facilitated routes of communication along Ganges, along with the river Ganga. This is the geographical importance. Then it comes Rajgriha. The old capital of Magad was located amongst hills. Rajgriha, now it is in Jharkhand. Present day it is in Jharkhand. It is on the top of the hills. Very beautiful place surrounded by the hills. And this place was kept as a Rajgriha was kept as a capital city of Magad, which was located amongst the hills. This is the Magad. Bihar, Jharkhand, then some parts of the present day I am talking about that. West Bengal, Odisha, Chhattisgarh also little bit part is there. So this is all about the location of Magad, and its capital city was Rajgriha.